We bring in Nick Ewen, senior editor at The Points Guy. Nick, so great to have you on. Quite a different picture this Memorial Day compared to last. Memorial Day, typically a huge weekend for travel. So what are you predicting for this weekend?
Well, we're seeing already a huge demand. We're expecting a lot of people to take to the roads, a lot of people take to the skies. In fact, some are saying that this is going to be back to close to pre-pandemic Memorial Day. Obviously, last year Memorial Day way down from a travel perspective. So bring your patience because there are going to be a lot of people taking to the skies and hitting the roads this weekend.
Okay, so in terms of comparing this Memorial Day to last Memorial Day, and even the Memorial Day pre-pandemic, where do you think we're going to line up? Do you think we're going to hit pre-pandemic levels?
So even if we don't quite hit pre-pandemic levels, it's important to note that international travel is still largely restricted. There are roughly 90 countries that Americans can travel to, but a lot of that demand is going to be bottlenecked into domestic travel. So you're going to see a lot of crowds in beaches, national parks. There's still a lot of demand for some of those socially distant activities. So even if we don't quite hit 2019 Memorial Day levels, the fact that a lot of that travel is going to be really pushed into domestic destinations, I think it's going to feel like there are a ton of people out there.
For everybody who's planning to hit the skies and travel by plane, what do they need to know as they head to the airport?
So the first and most important thing is even though the CDC has relaxed its guidance for vaccinated Americans in many indoor and outdoor spaces, when you are on a plane and in an airport, there is still a federal mask mandate. So you need to wear a mask. We've seen some unfortunate incidents of some air rage, even flight attendants being assaulted. So make sure that you have your mask, but expect full flights. There's going to be a lot of people taking to the skies over Memorial Day weekend. So you're probably not going to have a middle seat open next to you. There's probably going to be a line to board the plane. So again, bring your patience, expect those crowds, and again, wear those masks because that is still a federal requirement on board airplanes.
That was just what I was going to ask you, actually, because we're hearing these crazy stories about what is going on. Obviously, that the story about the Southwest Airline, just crazy, that the flight attendant who was punched. Are we seeing even more crowded planes than we're used to? Because obviously that the middle seat, as you mentioned, those are being sold at this point. But are there, in terms of supply, are we seeing as many flights that we're used to? Are these airports even more crowded?
So airlines have rapidly tried to scale up their operations in response to demand, but it does take time to bring aircraft back into service, to get those flights staffed. So I don't think that we'll necessarily see more crowding than we did pre-pandemic, but you definitely will see full flights. Pre-pandemic, airlines had gotten really good at predicting just how many no-shows they'd have so that they wouldn't have to force a number of people to take vouchers to take a later flight. And I think you're going to see a lot of that this weekend where aircraft will be full. And unfortunately, with some weather systems that are on the way, some of the delays, missed connections, cancellations, bring your patience because it may take you several additional hours to make it to your final destination because flights are going to be pretty full this weekend.
And just in terms of trends, where are people going? Where are people traveling to?
Primarily leisure destinations. So Florida, Arizona, Hawaii, places where have great proximity to national parks. The world of business travel still hasn't recovered. So a lot of those larger cities that really depend on business travel, not just for meetings, but also those large scale conventions, those still are struggling to get back to, anywhere near pre-pandemic levels. But you're even seeing places like Alaska for the great outdoors. A lot of those places that allow Americans to get out and enjoy nature, spend some time with their loved ones that maybe they haven't seen in 12, 16, 18 months. Those leisure destinations are the ones that are really seeing the demand, the increased pricing, and some shortage of rental cars and other amenities.
Are people going back to hotels, or are we still seeing the Airbnb trend in effect right now?
It's really a combination of the two. I've talked to a number of people who have said, look, this is going to be our first vacation since the pandemic. We want to be pampered. We don't want to be cooking for ourselves. We want to be enjoying the service of a hotel, even at slimmed down levels. Some hotels haven't quite restored their room service and their restaurant operations back to where they were prior to the pandemic. On the other hand, there are a lot of people who are saying, you know what, Airbnbs, that's still the best option, or some kind of vacation rental. It's going to give me additional space. It's going to give me some privacy. I'm not going to be sharing an elevator or sharing other spaces with guests. And it allows me to control a little bit more of my environment. So it's really a personal preference, but both are really high in demand this spring, this Memorial Day weekend, as well as into the summer.
And any trends that we see that started during the pandemic that you think are really going to stick around?
Well, one of the big trends that came out right at the end of August last year was airlines began waiving those change fees that they had typically charged $100, $150, $200 per ticket to make a change or to cancel. I have talked with a number of airline executives. We had Delta Airline CEO Ed Bastian on a webinar we did here at the Point Sky. We had former United CEO Oscar Munoz earlier this week on a webinar, and they have all indicated that those change fees are likely not going anywhere anytime soon. And that's a fantastic customer-friendly change, because in the past, you were essentially incentivized to take a flight when you were sick. And thankfully, it seems like airlines have realized that that is not a way to do business, and they're not going to penalize customers anymore when they need to make a change or adjust their itinerary. So that, I think, is a really customer-friendly change that will likely stick around for months, if not years, to come.
I'm so happy to hear that because I was wondering when it was going to when we were going to go back to that, and especially given regardless of politics, that taxpayers did bail out these airlines during the pandemic. So it's nice to know that they're remembering the little guy. Appreciate it. Okay, Nick Ewen, senior editor for The Points, guys. So great to have you on, and we look forward to a Memorial Day that we could actually celebrate.